Hello, everyone. Among the subscribers of the Global Energy Association, I'm Dr. Sergey Brilev, the head of the association, and this is the continuation of our talks with the people who've been shortlisted for this year's prize. So we've got today Dr. Yang, who's joining us from California. Hello, Dr. Yang.
Hello.
May I explain something to our viewers? I'm just back from Russia's main space museum, where on the 8th of September we'll be announcing the results of this year's nomination cycle. Dr. Yang is among the shortlisted nominees, and I should underline something very important. Yes, we are very proud of the fact that we have twice the number of nominations this year. Yes, we've had some successful reforms, yet Dr. Yang is the only one who was shortlisted last year and is shortlisted again despite all of the changes, which means, well, which underlines the quality of his research. Dr. Yang, we are to publish a book which is called 10 Breakthrough Ideas for the Next 10 Years in Energy, in which a chapter is dedicated to artificial photosynthesis, which is your specialty. But when you think about your research, as I said, I couldn't believe my eyes when I read about you. Energy, bacteria, solar power, how do they come together? Just explain it for wide circles. Yeah. Not only the scientists are listening to us now.
Yeah, thank you, Sergey. So what we are trying to do nowadays is really trying to learn from nature. Okay. So essentially, what we are doing is called as artificial photosynthesis. So in these artificial photosynthetic system, if we want to convert solar energy and store them into chemical energy, that requires certainly light absorber, okay? Something that absorbs solar energy, that also requires some catalyst to do the chemistry for us.
Yep.
So that's where all the sort of our original design of artificial photosynthetic system that based on our semiconductor nanowires in combination with some of the best biological catalysts. In some of our cases, it's these bacteria are doing the chemistry for us. So in our photosynthetic system, artificial photosynthetic system, our semiconductor nanowires, they are great solar energy light absorber. It's just like solar panel. Okay, we have many decades of experience in the solar panel design. In the past, I would say the whole scientific community has been working on that for 50, 60 years. So semiconductor is robust and they can capture the solar energy. Then once they capture the solar energy, and they will pass on those energy to these biological catalysts to do the chemistry for us, so that these biological catalysts can fix CO2 and convert them into useful chemicals, like acetate, like butanol, like polymers, or even pharmaceutical drug intermediates. And that's what we are doing nowadays. And that's why sometimes I very much call this process as we are generating this so-called liquid sunlight. Mm-hmm. Liquid sunlight means that you take the solar energy and using these photosynthetic system and store them into solar energy basically in one step, using our artificial photosynthetic system, directly convert the solar energy and store them into the chemical bond.
I couldn't quite believe my eyes, I can't believe my ears now, but you're certainly telling the truth. Give me 5 seconds, because I'm going to show you a secret weapon of today.
Oh.
Of course, as is the custom, it happens to be nearby. So let's imagine I sneeze. Aha! And there's plenty of bacteria here. Where do you get yours from?
Oh, okay. So that's the basically, well, we're using very different sort of bug, okay? So in the COVID-19, these are virus. In our photosynthetic system, when I'm talking about these biological catalysts or these bacteria, these are very well sort of benign bacteria. that utilize their life, basically utilize CO2 and convert them into, for example, in one of our cases, convert them into.
But do you produce those organisms in a laboratory, or you actually get it somewhere in the nature?
We get these bacteria from nature, okay? And many of these bacteria actually exist in soil, in the soil, okay? And they basically, typically, I want to emphasize actually, the bacteria we're using to start with, they do not have photosynthetic capability, meaning that they don't have light absorbing capability. Okay, but they do have the CO2 chemistry sort of machinery. So their sort of CO2 conversion chemistry is wonderful. But however, they don't know how to get those energy from. That's where our semiconductor nanowire coming from. Okay, our semiconductor nanowire basically gives them the living space. Okay, these high surface area semiconductor nanostructure give these bacteria living space, while the semiconductor nanowires absorb the solar energy and pass on energy to these environmentally benign bugs. Then we're combining the best of the two worlds. Okay, the semiconductor side do the light absorbing, then the biological catalyst do the chemistry for us. In combination, we have a fully integrated system that generating our sort of liquid sunlight in the end.
Will there be a day when you gather some dust in your front garden, you put an artificial leaf in your courtyard, and you start getting electricity?
Well, in the future, I think what's going to happen is, based on our original sort of concept of this combination of the semiconductor nanostructure with these best biological catalysts, I think in the future, you could imagine that these, something like a little bit like a solar panel putting on the roof, okay? That this combination of photosynthetic system can do the same thing as the solar panel, except the solar panel except the solar panel is doing the solar energy to electricity, while these photosynthetic systems are doing one thing, that's convert solar energy into liquid sunlight or liquid field. So that's, I think in the future, that's totally where one can imagine that's going to happen.
The reason why I asked this question, and thank you so much indeed for mentioning solar panels, is the following. I had a family, well, it wasn't a family dispute, it was a family get-together a couple of weeks ago, when my wife and I were deciding whether it's worth putting exactly solar panels over the roof of our house. And after careful calculations, we came to a conclusion that as of today, this is certainly very important, as of today, it's basically, there's no difference whether I put a solar panel or I put a generator. Of course, by putting a generator for emergency electricity supply, obviously, I will harm the environment. This is undoubtful, although batteries from solar panels harm environment too. But the question was twofold. Firstly, the climate, because of course in Moscow we are roughly where Canada is. So, you know, unfortunately, oil-based generators are more reliable than solar panels. But also the cost. The cost. As of today, it's roughly equal, even with advanced technology of solar panels. Looking at your technology, how expensive is a watt produced with your technology as compared to a watt of electricity produced based on the traditional electricity generation?
Yeah, I think this is a very good question. Whenever there's a new technology coming out, there's always issue about the cost and efficiency. Okay, but first of all, I think we need to realize that traditionally, when we're burning the fossil fuel, we're releasing CO2, we're doing harm to the environment. That's why we're doing all these renewable energy technology. But developing new technology and solving the CO2 problem, solving this sort of environmental climate change issue. Okay. Solar panel nowadays actually is very efficient. Okay, in the silicon panel, you can easily get 20% above 20% energy conversion efficiency, and then the cost is going down. So solar panel is basically starting to getting into the market fairly rapidly after more than 50, 60 years of research and production. But solar panel is the process that doing the solar to electricity, meaning that you needed to integrate with the grid. Okay? Yeah. That's certainly is one issue. That's why many people are working on energy storage, like battery.
Absolutely, yes. This is the constant thing in all of our conversations with everyone.
So what we are doing now is basically we're trying to come up with the technologies to solve this problem in one step. We're basically solving the solar energy conversion and the storage in one step, meaning that's why I emphasize we'll store the solar energy into the chemical bond, and the chemical bond, the energy density is high. Just like well in the generator, basically you are burning these basically chemicals to release those energy. That's why traditionally we're using, right? So our process is doing exactly the same thing, okay? And of course, when we're burning our sort of gasoline, those gasoline is with something we're taking out of from the ground, right? Basically, we basically dig out of the fossil fuel and come up with the gasoline, and then we drive our car. And that is a form of a solar energy stored in the chemical bond, but only happens in millions of years, right? And for our process, we're doing this in the lab. Now, hopefully in one day, can be scaled up. Once you scale this thing up, then you can think about the chemical industry, energy industry, and the pharmaceutical industry, okay? Because the current chemical, energy, and the pharmaceutical industry all based on the fossil fuel chemistry, right? Because all those carbon is coming from underground. Now, if our chemistry can be scaled up, all those carbon now is coming from the environment, from the CO2 in our atmosphere. But the rest is the same. The rest of chemistry is the same. But the energy now is also from sunlight. So this is fundamentally, I think, a different technology that will revolutionize the sort of the energy and the chemistry and the pharmaceutical industry in the many decades down the road.
So in the past, in the past and presumably in the future, love is in the air, typically, according to the song, but now energy is in the air.
Yes, energy is in the air. That basically with the sunlight and the CO2, exactly, you're right.
How does your artificial leaf look like? Is it like a leaf, a green one?
Well, it actually, fundamentally, it looks like a solar panel.
Okay.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, we have these sort of arrays, high density arrays of these silicon nanowires, where it's like a forest, a tiny forest, right? It's a high density. Then within those three-dimensional space, you have these biological catalysts living inside. Okay. Then this kind of wafer, you can basically irradiate it with the sunlight, then give it CO2, it will produce these chemicals for you.
Okay, but let me tell you a story. We had among the co-founders of the prize and one of the first winners then, academician Alferov as he's typically pronounced in the West, who once, 10, 12 years ago, invited me to visit his university in St. Petersburg, which is a very interesting university where people study and there's a lot of research, which is not very typical for Russian universities. So we were going through all those labs, and at one stage I decided to start asking a very simple question to everyone I met. I was asking them about their profession, their occupation. And I started receiving very interesting, unthinkable answers. Because people were saying to me, okay, I'm a graduate of a medical university, but I'm a nanotechnologist. And the other one was saying, I'm a a chemistry faculty graduate, but I am, what was that he was in? Nothing to do with chemistry, nothing to do with physics, something parallel. And they couldn't really describe their occupation. They were saying to me, my occupation is post number 2 in this lab, but I don't really know who I am. Am I a physicist, a biologist, a medical doctor? I don't know, but I'm looking forward to getting these results, combining different sciences. Who are you? What are you?
Okay, so this is a very important question that's relevant to many of us who are working on energy science. In order to solve these energy sort of problem like CO2 conversion, combating these climate change, you need actually the knowledge base coming from many different disciplines. So in order to solve these very big challenging issues we are facing, the science become more and more interdisciplinary. So I consider myself, I like my bachelor degree is in chemistry, then my PhD degree at Harvard is chemistry plus applied physics. Then more and more I'm getting into material science nowadays. Okay, so in order to indeed, you need to blend in all of these sort of knowledge base that built by many decades of research in this entire scientific community. Then you will come up with these very much cross-disciplinary solution to solve these issues. Our photosynthetic system is exactly a good example. We're combining two disciplines that traditionally does not mix with each other. The semiconductor side and the biological catalyst side, okay?
Precisely.
Combine them together, we come up with a really interdisciplinary solution to this big challenging environmental and energy problem we are facing.
Good. And I'm wishing good luck to all of our participants. Dr. Yang among them, thank you so much indeed.
Yeah, thank you, Sergey.